Elite Trending presents 8 people who really should be dead but somehow survived. The human will to survive is truly amazing, and while nature, or our own stupidity, can get the best of us at times, some people just kick the Grim Reaper to the curb and keep on keeping on. Here are a few of them. First up on our list is Jay Vinden. This 57-year-old with an awesome mustache is from Vancouver, British Columbia, in Canada. Vancouver's license plates state it's the most beautiful place on Earth. What they don't tell you is to watch out for sneaky ninja bears that come in the night. While Jay was sleeping all cozy in his tent one night, he woke up to a black bear clawing him. Jay says, "It seems like as soon as he recognized that I was awake, he lunged with his mouth at my midsection, bit me in the knee, flipped me with one hand like a pancake, pinned me down with its front paws, and started to attack my head." We think his account probably sounded something like this.
"I tried to run from it, but it picked me up and shook me like a dog."
Jay's screams awoke his next-door tent neighbor, who helped him fight off the bear. He was lucky to walk away with some cuts and bruises, and a good-sized chunk of his scalp missing, and a punctured skull. But alive and smiling, and that's what makes him a survivor. Next on the elite trending list is Mauro Prosperi, a great guy with a bad sense of direction. Back in 1994, Mauro was running something called the Marathon of the Sands in Morocco. At some point during the 6-day, 145-mile event, Mauro ran into a sandstorm and got disoriented. Apparently not a big fan of Garmin or TomTom, he took the route he felt and his gut was right. But he was so very wrong. In fact, he ended up running 186 miles in the wrong direction into Algeria. In case you're keeping track, yes, that's more than 40 miles longer than the entire original race route. Of course, he ran out of food and water pretty quickly, and without a Burger King in sight, Mauro resorted to eating and drinking whatever was at hand. And what was at hand in the desert was snakes, bats, and of course his own urine to wash it down. Remember what we said about the human will to survive? Well, that left Mauro after about 9 days in the desert. At which point, he tried to kill himself by slitting his wrists. That didn't go as planned either, as he was too dehydrated for the blood to flow out of him. A nomad family eventually found him, and Mauro was taken to the hospital where he complained about the food, just like everyone else. At our number 3 spot is Rita Chrétien. This van doesn't look like it's in much peril, but that's because this picture was taken 7 weeks after Rita and her husband Albert got stuck out in the wilderness in snow. Back in March of 2011, Rita and Albert set out in their van for Las Vegas from their home in British Columbia. When she tells her story, Rita explains that she and Albert were not experienced with such trips and relied heavily on their GPS to guide them. Clearly, that was not a sound approach. On March 20th, their van got stuck in the snow out in the Nevada wilderness, and they were unable to go any further. 10 days later, their children expected them home and became worried, so started a search. But it wasn't until May 6th that the van was finally found by some hunters. For 49 days, Rita had survived on a little bit of trail mix and some hard candy. She was ready to give up and die when the hunters finally found her. 47 days earlier, Albert had gone out to get help but had never returned. His body wasn't found until September of the next year, about 5 miles from the nearest town. Albert died a hero trying to save his wife and himself. The local sheriff commented that this man had tremendous courage and inner strength to get where he was. Janice Olson occupies our 4th spot. Cancer is always a bad thing. And although many survive a cancer diagnosis, not many survive the kind Janice Olson got a few years ago. Doctors told Janice they had found cancerous bone tissue in the middle of her pelvis. The good news, if you can call it that, was that they could perform a never-before-attempted operation to remove the cancer, but that would involve essentially cutting Janice in half. They told her she'd lose her left leg for sure, and possibly her right leg as well. Also, the operation would basically leave her without a pelvis, which would require them to reattach her right leg near her spine and implement some sort of device to hold it all together. Janice opted to give it a go, and after 28 hours of surgery, the operation was a success. Not only did Janice survive the surgery, but she's happy to be alive and able to do most of what she could do before her diagnosis. Since Janice's operation, the same surgery has been attempted 3 times, and 2 of the people who went through it did not survive. So, Janice is actually pretty lucky. The next spot on our countdown goes to Jason Sadeh, who proves that shortcuts don't always turn out the way you'd like. Being from Indiana, Jason Sadeh thought he knew a thing or two about traveling in snow, but during the winter of 2010, Jason's survival skills were tested in the deep, deep snow of Colorado, where he got stuck and eventually completely buried by snow in his SUV. Luckily, Jason and his dog, who was along for the ride, had a decent supply of Mountain Dew on hand and survived on that and snow for 3 days. What happened after 3 days? Were they saved by a Crack Mountain rescue team? No. After 3 days of being stranded, Jason decided to go get help. He walked about 7 miles to another road and was rescued there. If he had thought of that a few days earlier, he'd still have some dew to share with his rescuers. Next up is mountain lion survivor Anne Hegel. In 2007, a mountain lion killed and ate a hiker named Mark Reynolds. Not quite full after Mr. Reynolds, the big cat continued to hunt and came across Anne Hegel and her friend Debbie Nichols later that day. The mountain lion attacked Anne and was attempting to pull her into the woods by her face, but Debbie hung on to Anna's legs and refused to let go. Thankfully, some nearby mountain bikers heard the lady's screams and came to fend off the mountain lion before carrying Anne to safety. While Anne was in surgery for over 5 hours, receiving more than 2,000 stitches, police found and shot the mountain lion, which had gone back to feed some more on his earlier victim's body. Anne has since written a book about her experience called Skin Deep, and we have to say, she still looks great. No, this man is not stuck between those rocks. That would be really sad. But no survivor list would be complete without Aaron Ralston, who comes in at number 7. And Aaron did once find himself stuck between a rock and, well, another rock. Aaron was canyoneering near Moab, Utah back in 2003 when a boulder fell in the crevice he was walking through. As luck, or lack of it, would have it, the rock landed on his arm, crushing it and pinning him inextricably. For 5 long days, Aaron attempted to lift and break the boulder to no avail. During that time, he had a pretty rough go of it, drinking his own urine to delay dehydration, carving his date of birth and death into the rock, and videoing heartfelt goodbye messages to his family. But ultimately, he would not give up, and he decided to do whatever it took to survive. In this case, that meant breaking his arm bones and using his multi-tool to cut through the tissue and tendons around the break. After extricating himself, Aaron did what any badass survivor would do and took one last picture of his severed arms stuck in the rocks. Finally, at number 8 is Paul Templer, who survived being eaten by a hippo. No, seriously, listen to this. Paul Templer ran a kayaking tour business on the Zambezi River in Zimbabwe. The Zambezi is full of hippos, and Paul was of course aware of this. But maybe he's the kind of guy who likes to live on the edge. That life choice became questionable one day when a huge bull hippo toppled one of his group's boats, hurling one of his fellow guides into the air. When Paul turned around to help, he says he suddenly found himself in darkness and slime. It only took a moment to realize that he was halfway inside a hippo. Well, that would freak anyone out, and Paul did what he had to get the hell out of there. But the hippo wasn't done with him, and grabbed him and tossed him into the air several times, like a clown juggling beanbags. Except hippos, unlike most clowns, have massive sharp teeth, so each toss meant multiple puncture wounds and gouges. As if that wasn't enough, this grumpy hippo then grabbed Paul one more time and dove back under the water. But something about Paul apparently just didn't taste right, and the hippo finally spit him out and swam off, just as our survivor lost consciousness. Once he was rescued by a nearby medical team on practice drills and then transported to a hospital for surgery and stitching up, Paul was right as rain. He walked away with just 40 puncture wounds and an amputated left arm, which to most of us would be a real bummer, but Paul is not most of us. He returned to his former river gig and now talks all over the world about his harrowing experience inspiring thousands. So, there you have it. 8 people who make the rest of us look like total whiners when we complain about our cushy lives. Hey, thanks for watching Elite Trending. If you like what you saw, be sure to like it, share it, and leave a comment below. And for more awesomeness than you can possibly stand, please subscribe to our channel. ET out.